Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete.
And this is Derek.
And what do we talk about, Derek?
We talk about everything video games, particularly Nintendo.
Particularly Nintendo. Sometimes we touch on the other brothers, but
yeah, the other brothers.
The Microsoft brothers and the Sony brothers as well.
Yeah, we're estranged from those two.
Well, anyways, Derek, last time we talked, we kind of beat around the bush about the Splatoon 3, and it was like, the day after our podcast went up, they announced a direct, and it's already happened, and we both watched it.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to watch it live or anything. It was funny. I watched it on my phone, and I read some impressions on Reset Era before I was actually able to sit and watch it with full sound. And then I got home, and I was so tired that I tried to watch it again with full sound, and I was falling asleep in the middle of it and like slapping myself to stay awake. And so I kind of just scrubbed to some of the moments that I wanted to see. So I actually haven't really sat down and watched this full half an hour with sound properly. But I think we talked a little bit briefly about it. But anyways, what was your experience watching it? Where'd you watch it? How'd you feel when you were watching it?
Yeah, so I watched it not officially live. I started, I think, maybe 20 minutes after it actually was up. I went in with, I watched it at home on the computer with sound or whatever. I went in with, kind of honestly high expectations if I really think about it, and it wasn't really met for me. But we can get into that. But yeah, that was my experience. I've only watched it the one time, and then I read some impressions about it. Other people, I think there's kind of two groups, and I think I'm in the opposite group as you. But yeah, so I think, reading impressions and other people and how they're feeling, I think there's the group that, it's similar, but, all Splatoon's awesome, and there's more modes, there's better multiplayer, the single player is still there, Salmon Run's still there, more design and social features, the city looks cool. There's that group, and then there's the other group that says, why is there a Splatoon 3? Is there really enough to justify spending another $80 or whatever on these things that really aren't that monumental of changes to the game, or really, in my mind, in that group's mind, justify that sequel?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So when I really wish that before I'd watched the direct, two things. One, that I didn't read Reset Era, because they seem to skew quite negative on most everything. I
disagree.
And I also wish that not everything, but there seem to be people, the loud minority of the loud negativity is loud there in a way, if that makes sense. And then I also wish I had watched it with kind of already reading a synopsis of what they showed. And at the same time, we talked about it before, where I think we were both really looking forward to for the most part, a significant single player edition. And the one thing that they did not emphasize in any way was a single-player edition. And I'm not going to lie, almost the entire time I watched it, I was just wanting to see that. And I don't know. I guess that comes from a part of, for one, I really enjoyed the single-player campaigns in the first two. I just wanted them to be longer and more tied to a story and more grounded in a story, and more expansive and less like, Mario Galaxy one level at a time, linear kind of thing.
But I think it is exactly what it has been already.
I agree, and I mean even with the Octopass expansion, which you don't have, but you should play because it's free on the Nintendo channel, NSO expansion.
I don't have an NSO expansion,
but if you ever did, I mean, it's like but it's the same style. It's like very much linear. Right, like each level is linear. Like there isn't any multi-branching path gameplay whatsoever. It's not the kind of game where it's like, oh, go to this building and like find all 5 gems and like you're going around exploring a building. Like it's none of that.
Yeah, it's not Mario Odyssey style exactly.
Yeah, but I guess maybe this is my own kind of fictional visions, but that's kind of what I hoped this would be as a single player expansion. Is it would be bigger environments, bigger traversal, maybe a little bit of open structure, maybe a temple, like that kind of gameplay. And it didn't happen. So in a way, at first I was a little bit disappointed, but I've definitely come around for a bunch of reasons. For one, the game seems like chock full of gameplay and things to do, and it seems like a very much enhanced version of Splatoon 2.
But yeah,
Yes, which is a negative point in a way, but I mean, it does have, for all intents and purposes, it does have a brand new campaign. It has a brand new city hub. It has much improved upgrades to the multiplayer modes and to Salmon Run. And also, it will have like large scale paid DLC, and it also has a lot of the world building trinket stuff that I was hoping it would have, like the tabletop mode and a lot of the stuff in the town.
the locker stuff was kind of cool.
The locker stuff, more people, the social interaction where it's like you'll see my avatar in your town, like wanting to play, like and also from the brief glimpses of the town we actually got, which I don't know if I can really judge that. A, it looked like it's 60 frames. And B, it also looks like it's much, much bigger. Like, it's not just one little road outside of a mall. It looks like there's, like, an actual, like, kind of area to run around. Like, maybe like a kind of like a clock town in Majora's Mask. Like, there's a kind of like a circle. So I really like that. And, I mean, I guess all things combined, the graphics look great. I really like the new stages. And something about watching the Direct again and just seeing it all played again, it just got me excited to play. And it got me excited just for, like, new Splatoon gameplay, and the graphics look better than 2 to me. It looks really smooth, and I like some of the new moves and items are fun, and it's got a lot of enhancements, and I don't know, I pre-ordered it, so
obviously
it's also because you get more coins if you pre-order it. So I don't know. I guess all things combined, it's like I still can't even rule out the fact that the single player is more expansive, because they've said it's called The Return of the Mammalians, and it's going to close the story from the first 2. So for all we know, that will be significant. And they also announced large-scale paid DLC, which we know won't be levels or won't be more stages, because those are going to be coming for a bunch of years. So that will probably be single player, or even maybe a co-op campaign. But anyways, and the other thing, sorry, I'm talking for a while here. I'll let you go, but I didn't play Splatoon 2 for a long, long time. So a lot of the levels that came out late in Splatoon 2, and even the modes, like the clamshell mode, I never really got to play. So there is a factor of, I was really engaged in Splatoon at the beginning year, and a little bit years later with a friend, but it's kind of like everything that was introduced to Splatoon 2 throughout all that time will now be here. All the weapons, all the stages, or not all the stages, a series of stages and weapons. So there is like an element where maybe it's not brand new for a Splatoon 2 veteran, but it'll be brand new for me. But anyways, that's why I'm excited and looking forward to it. But why don't you tell me why you're disappointed?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of the things that you're saying as far as, I think the town hub does look really nice, and I think that they do have, I really like the multiplayer kind of way you can join parties, and I like some of the quality of life changes they've done. Mm-hmm. But when I always come back to this price tag, it's $80 for a Canadian, and these games never go down in price. So for me, it's like, well, to justify $90 on 4 multiplayer maps that are new to this game, or a single player that's kind of okay, like I just don't know if I'd put the hours in to justify it. And what you're saying is totally true. Like there is a single player who knows how good it's going to be. We don't know yet. So I guess I'm still a possible maybe on getting this. It just nothing has sealed the deal. I'm like, I gotta get this. Do I like Salmon Run? Yeah. Do I like playing multiplayer games, and do I like the feel of Splatoon and how it looks and the social aspects of it? Sure. But do I need this board game that they're bringing out? No, I don't really care. Do I need to have lockers? No. I just kind of want some more development and evolution of the gameplay. It's kind of like I would compare it a lot to like Overwatch 2 that's coming out in October. It's like I look at that, it's like, well, is it really is it really justifying being a sequel? And at least Overwatch 2 is free to play. Where this is like, oh, you want me to drop $90 when Overwatch 2 is coming out around the same time? And you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, why am I have to buy a brand new game for these, as you say, enhancements? If this was, let's say $40 Or if this ever went down in price, I'd grab it no problem. But the fact that it's going to stay at $90 or $80 the whole time, and again, I'm not dismissing the quality. I think it looks great. It's going to play great. I think the features that are added are awesome. I don't love Splatoon to begin with. I think I enjoy them, but I don't really have the time in multiplayer games to sink in 100 hours of Splatoon, and it just doesn't. For the price, it just isn't worth it for me to buy. I've already bought Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. I don't think I need to buy Splatoon 3 for these 4 extra maps or however many they are, and a little bit of a new single player with probably very similar ideas as the other ones. You get a new weapon, you practice the weapon on a few targets, and you whatever. And I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of with Splatoon 2, at least we got Salmon Run, and that was kind of like the big draw that really excited. If there was no Salmon Run, I would have probably been a lot less excited about Splatoon 2. And,
Yeah.
And I love Salmon Run. I was really hoping there would be one more significant mode added to this. And I'm actually confident there will be, like, with the large-scale paid DLC. But it is too bad there's no there's a campaign with 2 players, or there's like something.
If they had co-op, or they added, again, they added like 1 or 2 kind of new modes or rule sets and a few maps. Like if they had added a bunch more, I'd be intrigued. If they added even something like 4 team battles, like 4v4v4v4, 2v2v2v2, or an 8v8, or anything that was kind of like, this is kind of like a really they changed it big time, or like they just haven't really changed that much about it. And the other thing that really frustrates me is, to me, again, looks great, but it is just enhancements, and then they kind of have the gall to say, and there will be DLC that will be big and big changes, and you have to pay for it. It's like, I don't want to pay your $90 game that is minor stuff. Why are you making me pay even more for the DLC after?
But you have to remember that this game will be getting updates for years. So
totally, I know it'll be getting free updates. I'm not in new maps and new whatever. Like I think that's good. I just still think it's kind of like the paid DLC or whatever you think it's going to be, like that should just be in the game, and that is why it's Splatoon 3. Like all the paid DLC should just be in the game, and that would justify it more if that's Splatoon 3.
I guess so, but Octopath expansion was like almost like another single player campaign entirely, and it was $20. So, and now it's like been on sale aggressively, and also now it's included with the NSO expansion. So it's not like they clutch onto these DLC expansions like they're so expensive all the time, right?
No, totally. But I just mean even just the base game plus that is outrageous.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like on one hand, it's a full featured game with a single player campaign, tons to do on the side, full integration with friends. They have maps and modes and multiple types of. They have a whole co-op mode. Like in one sense, it's a full featured game. But on the other hand, I see where you're coming from. That if you didn't love the gameplay, if it doesn't really get to you, like it's like buying New Super Mario Bros. Again in a way. Like it's you want something new this time, and. Yeah, I
exactly. And like again, I don't dislike the games. I think I know Fortnite's not a good comparison because Fortnite's a juggernaut. But it's like Fortnite, every time they have these monumental expansions and these huge changes, costumes, gameplay has changed, vehicles, the map has changed, like fundamental changes, it's free. There is, and again, I know it's a service game, so it's a little bit different. But I'm just saying, I guess I'm someone that my wallet is very careful when it comes to sequels, and that's why I probably would never get into like Street Fighter 6 coming out, because to me Street Fighter 6 looks and is probably going to play just like Street Fighter 5. Like,
and also Capcom, we all know, aggressively put that on sale, and that'll be on Game Pass at one point. Like it's like Capcom is so aggressive with their sales. There's no point of buying it brand new. But that's another reason why buying a Nintendo game up front is so easy for me, because in a way Splatoon is such a staple. I just want to have the newest Splatoon if I want to play Splatoon, and it's like a Mario Kart or a Smash Bros, right? Kind of just by default buy it. And Nintendo only really releases, or any company is only really able to release so many tentpole games a year. So I feel like I'm more likely to just kind of like dive in, see what they have to offer, and be disappointed than not buy it at all and miss it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, again, I think the best way for me to kind of summarize is 2 kind of points. Is one, if someone bought me this game as a gift, I would love it. Like I'm all for it. I just don't know if I personally want to drop $90 on this game. But if I got the game, I'd probably play the hell out of it and enjoy every second of it. Like I like these games, just the price isn't there for me. And the second thing is, there's so many games, and I know we're going to talk about this later this podcast. There's so many games coming out this year that are kind of different for me or I've never experienced before. And, sometimes changing kind of the formula up, where it's kind of like, well, do I want to spend, if I only can pick so many games to buy and play, do I want to play more Splatoon that I've played before? Or do I want to play, a game that really kind of changes what I've seen and done?
I guess for me, I've always connected to Splatoon. I had Splatoon 1 like the first day it came out, and I had it on Wii U on the Splatfest I played. And then I had Splatoon 2 the first day it came out to the Splatfest. And I don't know, there's something about, like, there was a moment where I'm like, oh, there's no big single-player campaign, it's all the same, I don't need to pay money for this. But then as soon as I saw, like, someone walking through the major city and, like, doing, like, the little bits of single-player, and I just kind of, it's like a warm feeling washed over me, like, I just want to be in that town. I find the gameplay so incredibly satisfying in Splatoon. Like, I honestly am at the point where I'm like, give me more. I prefer single-player because I don't feel the pressure of playing other people, So, but if they could give me like more and more and more single player, I would just continually consume it. But I gotta say, I do hope you come around and the single player actually looks good, because they do the brief mention of it. They didn't it almost to me might imply that there's a whole other direct to focus on it. And I hope that's the case, because they really kind of said, it's Return of the Mammalians, and you should play this before you get started. And
yeah, but it makes it sound like it's a tutorial, just like the other games, and just it said, "Oh, it's good for newer players to try this out." For me, like the thing that really is tempting me the most is the multiplayer with you. You got a headset, and I think I got it. We'd actually play, but I have worries where it's like the Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge. We played that one night, and we just never bothered to play that ever again together. So for me, it's a little bit like, am I really going to be playing that a lot with you to justify that cost? Even though we say we are, like, are we really going to in a season full of heavy games and tons of other games, and we have work and other things going on? How much are we really going to play that together? Because that's really the only reason I'd be playing that game is just.
I just don't know of another multiplayer game coming out before Redfall that we would be able to play together in co-op. And I think it's the kind of game where, I gotta say, with Splatoon, it is one of those games where having it when it first comes out is a lot of fun, because like the online is brimming, and people are really trying to do the best artwork and stuff they can, and the little I guess it was on the Wii, the gamepad had it, but it's just like, it's almost like really exciting in a way.
Totally. Again, $100 or I know I keep $80 or $90 is a lot of money. Like
I figure
there's other games.
We will play it together. I mean, Ninja Turtles was it's a 2-hour game in total, and I've got to say, like, I love that game still. I played half of it with another friend. It's just like the kind of game. It's more of a local game. Like, what are you and I gonna really like play online and game it out and just do it over and over and over again, and like trying to do it on hard? Like, there's not a lot of depth there. But with Salmon Run, and now it has enhancements. It's in a new stage. It's got new enemies, and it's even got like this. They haven't revealed too much of it, but like a monthly event in Salmon Run, which I love Salmon Run because it forces you to use different weapons. But I don't know. I think even if we played a couple times, a little turf war, and even did the single player, like, to me that's well worth my money. Single player alone is a good 8 hours.
Yeah,
and
I'm on the fence. Like I got it. Like, again, that's the main selling point is the multiplayer with you.
Yeah. At least they have those enhancements, and you know what? I actually got to say, like, this is the best. It looks like this is the best Nintendo's ever done when it comes to trying to have a community around their game. Like, to be able to like add an invite, and then I show up in your town, like, asking you to play, or seeing randoms around the town waiting to fill a room or fill a team, and I can join you on your team or not on your team, and we can play. Where other people are on teams or not on teams, and we can play regular turf battle or the different modes, or we can jump over to Salmon Run. Like, there is really, it feels like before it was almost like annoying to join a friend, like you had to really like join them awkwardly and wait, but now it really seems like it's connected that community in the way that I kind of always hoped they would do. I hope they do something like this with Mario Kart. and really do something like that level of community features. I'm excited about, and I'm hoping that can maybe start something where it's like if I'm playing casually, I see that you're there, and it's a lot easier than like us having to jump on Discord and be like, okay, you ready? I'm ready. Okay, join. It's more organic where it's like, oh hey, you're playing, like invite.
I know, but I just think organically, just because of our schedules, we would never organically cross paths.
Well, we did in Turtles the one time.
Yeah, that's not organic. That's true. There was.
I just turned it on and you invited me and I jumped in. So like that was a very organic time, and your friends are there. So
yeah.
I'm hoping.
I just
And also the other thing that's too bad about Splatoon 2, and I always tried to get my friends in on this, is like you guys never got a high enough rank to do League play. And then League Play, which they announced is coming to Splatoon 3, as well as something called X mode, which they didn't unveil. Like they're like, these modes are not at launch, but are coming. With League Play, like you and I could start our own team and like kind of have our team rank up and down. Like there's a lot more depth there than you probably even realized in Splatoon 2. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, I don't blame you for how you feel. Maybe when it gets closer, or, other than October, though, I don't. October's a big month, but I don't see much else. But we can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, let me think about it for the next week or two and come to a decision.
Okay, I mean you have a few more weeks than that, so.
Yeah.
But in terms of this year, let's go because there's not a lot to talk about, and our other topic is just that. Is the games we're excited for this year, and you are more aware of kind of what's coming out on the PC and the PS5 and the indie scene probably more than I am.
Tons, yeah.
So you might have a better sense for the year than me. Also, you are probably excited about God of War, which I am not. Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't care for that game. But anyways, Derek, I told you, I said, what are the top 5 games you're excited for the rest of this year? Do you have a list for me?
Oh, yeah, you want me to give all 5 right now?
Did you rank them, or are they just kind of 5 random?
They're just random 5.
Okay. Yeah, tell me your 5.
Well, let's alternate one at a time.
Okay.
So I guess my first one that I'm looking forward to would be... I'll start easy. I'll start with an easy one. I'll do God of War.
I did rank mine, so I'll go with the lowest to highest.
Okay, I mean, I'll start with God of War.
Okay.
I'm not... You're kind of right. Like, I am excited for this game, and I will get this day one just because I know it's going to be a high-quality, high-budget game, and I do like Kratos. Mm-hmm. But I'm not... This isn't like a frothing at the mouth Elden Ring hype game for me. I don't even think I was as excited for this as I was for Forbidden West in February. I am excited, and I am looking forward to. But yeah, you're right. God of War is exciting, but it's not, insane into my veins.
You know what it is? I think we've talked about this before, but it just this new God of War kind of just seems to adapt this kind of like over-the-shoulder clunky control scheme that it's not to say that it's clunky, but it controls like a third-person shooter, and there's not a lot of shooting, so it's almost like an action game, but in the view and controls of a third-person shooter in some way. And like, I get why it's fun, but it just didn't gel with me at all. Like, it felt like it was a slower-paced God of War, which I'm not before.
To me, it falls more into like playing like the Souls games, like Dark Souls or whatever. It's more that style where it's a little bit slower fighting. It's a little bit more methodical. You do get a little bit, some kind of more action. I don't know if I
agree though, because in the Dark Souls style game, the From Software games, like you see the character's legs. Like it's a full kind of, it's a much more pulled out camera and much more customized combat and like open to the player to create their style of combat, where even something like Jedi Fallen Order, which was kind of like a Dark Souls light, like I don't even get that sense from God of War. To me, God of War is like some weird mishmash of like, I don't even know. It's like, because you don't see his legs.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, I know what you're saying. It's like playing almost like The Last of Us 2 mixed with God of... Like, I know what you're saying. And I do agree. It is that kind of... I think the best way to describe it in my mind is, it sounds like you're wanting it to be the old God of War, where it's fast-paced, crazy action combos. And this game these are not that. These are more story-focused, I find. And I almost find the combat almost takes second priority in these games. Like I think these games are more about the art and the story unfolding in the world than it is about this crazy action now.
I can almost never accept a game where the gameplay takes a back seat. Myself, I just can't. And
I don't find the gameplay bad though. I mean,
like even in a game like Resident Evil 7 or arguably 8, where it's like the art and story and experience kind of like lead over the gameplay, it still has a really great gameplay base, in my opinion. Where, and I guess this does too. I guess it's just that I God of War to me is more of a character action game and not what it became. And I think the other thing with Ragnarok is that it doesn't look that exciting to me because it looks very incrementally upgraded over God of War 2018. And there's nothing.
I agree, but it's just so funny to say that after discussing Splatoon 3 and justifying pre-ordering it already, and you're like,
well,
oh, God of War.
I know. I'm gonna compare. I guess I compare it to Splatoon 3 in that sense, where, but I mean, it's people look at new single player stories differently, and it's hard to look at a game that's multiplayer only without that scrutiny. So it's different, but I almost think that they're both in that realm where like Splatoon 3 and the new God of War feel in that realm of very much incremental upgrades on 2018, 2017 games. You know, like good, probably solid incremental upgrades. I'm sure God of War will have a lot of great upgrades, but nothing I've seen, and the fact that it's on PS4 tells me that it's nothing about it is gonna, totally, maybe it will, but it's not gonna blow my mind. It's not like going from God of War 2 to 3 or from 3 to 2018 where it's like, whoa, you've reinvented the wheel. Or Splatoon 2 to a brand new campaign, awesome open world adventure in Splatoon. Like they didn't do, it's not this big jump that maybe we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I know you didn't play these games. You might have played the first one, but how did you find the jump from Horizon 1 to Forbidden West?
Well, I have never played Forbidden West, the second one. Sorry, Forbidden West.
Yeah. I just mean, like, at the end of the day, it will still feel like the same engine, because I think it is the same engine for God of War as was Horizon. But just, like, the graphic fidelity or the 60 frames or, like, the amount of stuff that can be on the screen and just, like, the visuals, especially playing on the OLED, because, I don't know, you didn't have an OLED for the first God of War. To play on a 65 OLED, the second Horizon, the jump for me was insane from the first Horizon to that one. Even though it's like, if you really think about it, they're both PS4 games, but to play 60 frames and to have like this just insanely good looking game, that's why God of War is gonna be insane, is awesome, because you're right. Like, it's just continuing the story. It's not monumentally doing something different, but this game will shine on our OLEDs.
Yeah, like I keep saying, the biggest upgrade for this generation was getting the OLED, not for getting a new console.
Yeah.
TV alone is the bigger visual upgrade for me, and it's
but
true.
You say that now, but again, we're still at the phase where cross-gen is kind of what all the games are.
Yeah, it's
like,
too bad because
years.
a brand new PS5 exclusive God of War would have been a really hot ticket item, I think.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, yeah, I mean that'll be a huge release. I'm sure it'll do well. I'm sure it'll get a high reviews and sell really well and be a big game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a game that I don't actually think is going to come out in 2022 anymore. But
is it Advanced Wars?
No, it's Somerville. By one of the guys who left the team that made Inside. One of the developers left and made Somerville, and it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. I think it might be.
I know about this game. I'm excited for it too.
Yeah, it looks
make my 5.
So awesome. It looks like an extension of what I loved about Limbo and Inside, 2 of my favorite games ever. I'm very excited about this, and they've gone absolutely silent since last June, 2021. So it's one of those indie things where it's like, oh, you showed us a really cool trailer in 2021. You said it was coming at 2022. Now it's August 18th. Where is it? So I think maybe they'll do some sort of September, October reveal, and it'll come in the fall. But I kind of doubt it. I think it'll be a next year game.
And what's the other guy? They split. What's the other guy making? He has a game too.
He was making that game that had like the orbs. Remember that puzzle game they announced for Switch? Right. It didn't look great to me, but Somerville looks awesome. It's kind of like an alien invasion done, like a full-scale alien invasion.
With a family running. Yeah, it's cool.
Looks amazing. I can't wait. So that's my number 5. Families running for their life is my bread and butter.
Okay, so I'm not ranking mine, but my next one would be, I would say the Callisto Protocol.
Okay.
So I played the Dead Space games pretty late into when they came out. Like I think I played 1, 2, 3 back to back.
Okay. I never played 3, but I played 1 and 2 and love them.
I don't know if I played all 3 of them all the way through, but I definitely had all 3 on my computer, and I played a good chunk of most of them. I know this isn't Dead Space. The Dead Space remake comes out next year, but it looks pretty interesting. Looks cool. I like what they do. I like horror games. I think space horror is cool. So I'm really interested in this. I don't know a lot about the game. I haven't, whether there's a lot of video out there or not, I haven't really followed it too much, but this is one of those games where I would really like to play if it reviews well, but it really could review high or low. I just don't know enough about it. But everything I've seen or heard about so far has got me excited for it. I always like new IPs too.
Yeah, the thing that's funny is it seems really hard to tell these days about what games to get really excited for, where it feels like in the past you'd see like a big E3 showing where Square Enix or Capcom or EA would have like shown Callisto Protocol, pumped it up, had hands-on demos, gotten all this marketing behind it, where all we really have now is like a trailer from a kind of unknown developer, right? So,
well, they made PUBG.
Is it that same developer?
Yeah. The game was originally set in the PUBG world, and then they went back and they said, no, it's a totally different game.
Okay, that's promising actually. I'm really looking forward to Callisto Protocol, but it is one of those games that's kind of in my periphery, where it's like when it gets great reviews, I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon, but I'm not gonna let myself get disappointed by an unknown.
And I think, just to give some more information, I think the lead developer is one of the lead developers of the Dead Space.
I remember hearing
series.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's in good hands and it looks good. But
and I've got to say, everything I've seen of the new Dead Space remaster has been so unimpressive. That comes out in January. It looks like a very modest. It looks like the game is just the same game in 4K.
I mean, it looks visually upgraded the same way The Last of Us looks visually upgraded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really nice, but at the same time, it doesn't do much for me after that.
I mean, I think there's something with The Last of Us will have more of an opportunity to show its upgrades with, human animation versus like the same necromorphs running through a dark spaceship. Like, it's hard to. I guess that's a testament to how amazing and beautiful the original Dead Space is as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying true, but I'm just saying if you think about it, if they really get ray tracing good on Dead Space, that would look freaking sick. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you only have so much light in a game, it's dark and horror-y and scary. Sometimes, like, those ray tracing, those really strong light effects are going to look so much better than they did when Dead Space originally came out.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons between Callisto Protocol and Dead Space. And I hope there are comparisons, and it's not like, oh, one of these was crap and one of these was good. Like, I want them both to be good or both amazing, or one amazing and one good, and there's all these comparisons. Like, more space horror, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of which, my next one is Evil West.
You took mine. That's one of mine too.
I'm mostly excited for it to know if you're finally going to be out in terms of our fantasy league. So there's a lot of pressure around that release.
I'm so screwed. Like, that game looks, to me, it looks so good.
It looks really good. I mean, on one hand, it looks like it could be a little bit tanky and linear, but I just really like the mix of kind of like brutal melee combat and looks like competent third-person shooter gameplay. And it's like it goes from like being in a quasi open world town area where you're surrounded by cowboys to like some sort of hellion hellscape underground fighting demons. So it just looks wild, and I'm just worried it's gonna be like 2 hours long or extremely repetitive or have some sort of really stupid difficulty curve. Like I'm actually worried, but I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. It looks really cool visually. I just like the idea too, just this badass cowboy killing all these demons. And I think I mentioned this before, but the guns remind me a lot of the Ratchet and Clank, where they're not afraid to kind of get crazy with it. Mm-hmm. And I really like games that just kind of go balls deep in those cool arsenal of weapons.
Do you know who the developer is?
I think they're kind of an unknown developer. I think they've done some somewhat known indie games. Okay. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they have a huge repertoire behind them. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of saying is that's why I Hail Married on a low prediction score, is because I think this game looks amazing. I think it's going to do really well, and I am pleasantly. I hope I'm happy with that. But on the other hand, is we don't know this developer really well. It is a new IP, and there is that off chance where this game, it has frame rate issues, the controls are wonky, it feels short, it doesn't feel good to I don't know, but that's just what I was,
those are my reservations that dragged my score down to 82. What did I guess? Where I was almost going to go higher based on just the gameplay that I had seen.
Yeah, I could see it being an 85 for sure.
Yeah.
If it hits all those marks.
What's your next game? Was it Evil West?
It was Evil West, but so I've done 3. I'll give you my 4th one now. My 4th one, okay. I would say this is gonna be a weird one. Is the DioField Chronicles by Square Enix. This one, I played the demo. It came out I think last week, and I just gave it a go. It's really freaking fun. It's kind of a mix of almost Fire Emblem strategy RPG, and also like I don't want to say XCOM. I don't really know what it's like. It's almost like a JRPG mixed with a strategy game. Because you do have those moments. You have 4 people in your party, and you have those moments where you're just like dropping all these.
What's it called?
DioField Chronicles.
I feel like I've not even heard of this game, and it's coming to every system. So what have you been playing it on?
I played on the PS5, but people said the Switch one runs totally fine.
This is just from the demo, right?
Yeah, so the demo came out, and I was like, oh, this game was a strategy game. I like strategy games. I gave it a go, and myself and every single person that played it on at least the forum, the Reset Era that I was following, every single person was like, this became a day one. This game is awesome. This game's super fun. Everyone was like surprised.
It looks a little bit like a mobile game from the pictures I'm looking at.
It looks like that, and it probably was originally that, to be honest. But it is really freaking fun. Like it works, and it's kind of a unique idea. I've never played a game quite like it, and it's just out there. It's interesting, and I won't get this game day one just because I don't think it's probably going to be worth the price tag. But this game will, I think, just bomb in sales. I don't think it's going to sell well at all.
Do you think I'd like it? I mean, the thing that I do like about it is it reminds me of a Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and hoping it has multiplayer. But
give it again, the demo's free. You might as well give it a go. It's a little bit more tactical than you think it is, but it also has that JRPG moment where you can like freeze it and do all your skills.
Okay.
But it is like, you send your unit around to flank from the back, and you get extra damage if you hit them from behind, and you get surrounded, and it's hard to explain. It's very different.
It looks like a mix of XCOM meets Fire Emblem. You're right, just from the
space. Exactly.
Cool.
So it is really fun. It was just a surprise. Like, again, everyone went in thinking like, oh, this is going to be kind of a crapshoot of Square Enix throwing ideas on the wall, but it actually works together to being really, really fun. And it definitely is like a AA game, not a AAA game, but it's fun. Like it works. I enjoy it a lot, and I definitely want to play this game. This won't be a day one buy for me.
True. Okay. Well, there's a lot of games this holiday, aren't there? Like a lot of eyes on a lot of these unknown kind of games. I feel like there's maybe not a lot of big hitters, but a lot of these higher quality looking AA games.
Hence why Splatoon 3 is such a hard sell.
Yeah, well, that takes me to my next game, Splatoon 3. No, I'm just kidding. My next most exciting game is actually the Cowabunga Collection.
Okay.
I know it comes out in 12 days, but I just loved Shredder's Revenge so much, and I'm just waiting for the same kind of nostalgia rush of now revisiting that entire saga of history. Like, in some ways, I'm more excited about Cowabunga Collection than I was for Shredder's Revenge, because Shredder's Revenge is just kind of like a 2-hour beat 'em up, where this is like many beat 'em ups in one with a lot of additions. It's got the Tournament Fighter game, and I loved that game as a kid, and I want to kind of re-experience it with trying both versions. And there's also this kind of factor of being able to finally beat the Ninja Turtles arcade game that I wasn't able to as a kid, and play this like a Genesis version of this game, and things that I couldn't do as a kid. So it's like completing a long lost fantasy / goal. And now I'll have all those games in one collection. It'll be very nice.
Yeah, that game, I don't think I'm going to get that just because I don't love turtles, and I don't have the nostalgia like you do. Like, I like them, but I didn't grow up with them the same as you.
I don't. I need that Tournament Fighter game. Really is a good one. It's fun.
I know the Tournament Fighter is tempting. I think I have mine on the SNES Mini, but I only have the one version of it.
I do too. Yeah, but
yeah.
I think there's online play now in this one too, right?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it looks good. I just don't. For me, it's not worth buying. But I definitely play that Tournament Fighter game with you when I come visit or something.
Okay.
My next one is, I'm trying to think of which to pick. I'm looking at the list here. I'm gonna say this game is kind of surprising. I'm gonna say not that surprising. Is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Glad you mentioned.
Again, this is a game I'm gonna wait because I think this game's gonna go down in price and the DLC will come. And knowing Ubisoft, the games just get cheap after a year.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks awesome. I loved the first one. Played it to death. Played every single mission. Got perfect on every single mission. Like loved it a lot. And
you were saying last episode you're gonna jump on the DLC. Maybe when this comes out for cheap.
Yeah, I was about to say that exactly. So when this one comes out, the DLC I think was $10 like a week ago. I was hovering over the buy button, but I figured no, I'll wait. I'm sure, I'll get a chance to buy it again when I actually have time to play it. But yeah, I can't wait to play this new game. It looks awesome. Everything about it looks. Again, we go back to this. I always think about the Splatoon discussion we just had. Is this game substantial enough of a change? This game to me is a sequel. They've changed up the formula of how they're playing the game. They've added a whole bunch of different characters. The story is different. Like the world is different. Everything has been changed. So
well, I agree. I think it looks great. I also just want to remind you that it's very different to look at a single player game and a multiplayer kind of social experience and compare them because
totally
the multiplayer game will always look more the same, right?
Yeah, if I compared Call of Duty and Splatoon 3, of course, exactly. So that would be a game I'm looking forward to.
I really this is one that I'm kind of on the fence about because I did like the first one, but it's not totally my kind of game. But I just really like all the changes they made, especially with the world structure and like going into like just being open with the world and more exploration based rather than going from room to room is like so changing for me. I really like in games like feeling a sense of space versus feeling like it's just it's hard to explain. I don't like games to feel too gamey. I like to feel like there's a sense of a world and a place, if that makes any sense. So the first one was just a little too gamey for me, where I felt like I'm just playing almost like a tactics game where I could just choose each mission on a map, on a thing. Where this next one has little missions, and you can avoid enemies if you don't want to fight them, and there's probably leveling up if you do. So, but I don't. Yeah, I'm probably with you. I won't get it right away. But I'm just speaking of this game, I do wonder if. I think we both kind of agree now that Nintendo's probably not going to release anything else this year unless it's some sort of smaller thing. Like a port or a remaster. So we kind of know their holiday in terms of big games. I just wonder if this game, being a kind of a big sequel, is going to be positioned as maybe like their bigger November game, along with Pokemon. I just wonder if this will be kind of like the shining gem of the holiday for Switch.
No, definitely not. I think this rounds out the lineup pretty nicely, though. We have Pokemon, which is huge. But for those who don't like Pokemon, there's also Bayonetta 3. And for those who don't like either of those games and doesn't like Splatoon, they have this single-player game that, there's Mario. It has the Nintendo kind of polish. It feels like a Nintendo game, but it's a little bit different. It's single-player. I just think those four kind of games...
They are great. They round out the holiday really well. They're still not really that kind of Nintendo property staple. Like sure, there is Splatoon and there is.
Was there one last year? I thought last year was pretty similar to this, where it had a lot of pretty good games, but there weren't any tentpole games last year.
Well, we did get Mario Party.
Okay, to me, I would put that on the same level as Pokemon.
True, I guess I just think of Pokemon as their own thing, because they seem to have their own rabid fan base, where it's almost like the fan that loves Nintendo, New Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart, Zelda, is not necessarily the same person who loves Pokemon. Like, there's a lot of crossover, but it's like there's not... And for that person who loves Mario, and Zelda, like there isn't really anything, and that's why I think that I mean I think I've said before I predict we're either going to get Yoshi Woolly World as a remaster in December or one of the Zelda remasters, full price of course.
Yeah, of course. I don't expect to see anything else by Nintendo.
Not even a holiday.
Not a Nintendo first party exclusive. No.
Yeah, I guess it's. I mean, they have a pretty stacked year.
That's a pretty good lineup, and they have games coming out early next year. I think that are going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, that takes me to my next game, which is Bayonetta 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for this. I think the new trailer looked great, and I love Bayonetta 2. Like, I go back and replay levels from it all the time, and I just love the way it feels. And we'll get to this more of what we've been playing, but I've been playing Devil May Cry 5, and as many ways as that game is, has enhancements that Bayonetta 3 won't have, especially the graphics, the gameplay just doesn't feel the same. And I'll get to that later, but there's something about the feel of Bayonetta that I feel like there's a stiffness to Devil May Cry that Bayonetta kind of fixed in a way. Where there's like a fluidity to the combo system in something like Ninja Gaiden and Bayonetta, and even the original God of Wars, that there's something missing in Devil May Cry with that fluidity.
I think you can do some pretty good combos in that game.
Well, we'll talk about it in what we've been playing. But I'm excited for Bayonetta 3. That is a day one. Like, I'll pre-order that day one. And to me, like, when it comes down to like big Nintendo games, like that's kind of like my big AAA game I'm excited about this year on the Switch in that front. Like mature, single player focused, polished, probably will get good reviews, exclusive. Like that's kind of the one I'm eyeing for the holidays. My one I'm more excited about that than God of War,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited for that one too. Looks good. It's funny that you say. I just to quickly talk about that stiffness of Devil May Cry. I find Bayonetta actually feels a little loose sometimes, where I don't feel like I have that kind of precision and it doesn't feel like I have total control of what I'm doing.
Like you're just kind of flailing the buttons and you're not sure which one's registering, right?
Yeah, where I found the older God of Wars, or my favorite Devil May Cry is, as I'm sure listeners will hate me for saying this, is DMC. It felt like I had all these crazy combos, but it felt like I was doing it. I was switching weapons mid-air and just doing all these crazy things. Where the Bayonetta games I played, I felt like I was, this crazy stuff is going on, but it was a little bit like I'm just pressing buttons and hoping things go okay. It's a little bit different. I like it. I still love it.
There is like the skill ceiling does get higher if you go for those buttons,
of course,
and do it on hard. Totally. And that's something I actually got through most of Bayonetta 2 on hard. And when you play it on hard, all of a sudden, like you're forced to it's a whole different game. It's almost like playing The Last of Us on hardcore versus easy, where easy it's a third-person shooter, you're mowing guys down, and then on hard it's a whole different game of being careful.
Yeah.
But I mean, in general, I play these games on normal, which gives me a good shake of challenge. But don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying DMC5. I like these character action games a lot, but there's something about Bayonetta and just that wacky kind of like we are just gonna go more. You're gonna be on a train that's blowing up and flying through space,
that's why I love Bayonetta too. It's just like you're on this crazy ride of some guy's crazy ideas, and then it somehow just like it feels good to do,
Yeah, like that first level in Bayonetta 2, I probably replayed it over 35 times. Like I just that level is classic to me, where you're on the jet and then you're on the train and then you're on the building, and it's like this wild, extreme level that to me it's probably one of the best first levels ever.
Mm-hmm.
Just love it. Okay, well, what's your most excited game for this year, Derek?
I'm supposed to give another one. I just gave you my 5.
Oh, you gave me your top. So I have one more because I only gave 4.
Because I had Evil West, remember? So I
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have here Splatoon 3. Not necessarily.
That's your most excited.
Not necessarily my most, because I didn't rank them, but it's probably.
I was gonna say that beats Bayonetta 3. That's crazy.
There is an element where the game I'm probably the most excited to play that I know will be a polished, good experience on day one is like getting into that city in Splatoon 3 and doing the campaign and doing a little multiplayer and doing more campaign and doing, like that first few days to me is like, that's kind of like my warm Nintendo hug that I don't get very often. Mm-hmm. Maybe once a year, twice a year, And I don't think Bayonetta 3 counts, so.
No. I want to add one more game, even though this isn't my top 5. Is a game that's on my radar and we haven't mentioned it at all. Is it's a remake, but it's Tactics Ogre.
That's recently announced.
Yeah, Tactics Ogre Reborn. I think it's a port or a remaster of the
Ogre Battle 64.
No, it's hard. So it's the PSP or the PS Vita one that was already a remaster of one of the two games. It's a remaster of the remaster. Anyways, I just never played it. I love strategy games. I've been playing Fire Emblem for a long, long time since the Game Boy Advance.
It's called Tactics Ogre Reborn.
Yes. I liked, sorry, not Octopath, but Triangle Strategy. I liked Final Fantasy Tactics. So this game looked really awesome, and I was talking to people about it, and they said, this Tactics Ogre, this story, is one of the best stories of any video game ever, to the point where other games still reference, like, go back to talk about this game and how it's an influential part of their story. And it just looks so up my alley of games I like, and people are just like, the gameplay's amazing, the story's amazing, the branching paths are amazing. It's actually like a smart, political, interesting story.
And there's absolutely tons and tons of depth. From I'm just watching the trailer now. Like, it's a little world map, but you can also like completely customize your whole team. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, there's tons to it, and you know me, I love my strategy games, so I'm really, and it's not full priced because it's a remake, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Is this coming for Switch?
It is. That's probably the system I'll get it on.
Wow, because it's funny, this game was announced the other day and it didn't seem to get a lot of hype, but like, I don't get this. Is such a weird year without E3, right? Because it just doesn't feel like we had all these big announcements. Like, it feels like normally these big announcements all happen around June, and we can kind of like lay our cards out of what the year is, and like,
and it's clear of like which games are the tentpole games, right?
Yeah, but a game, I feel like at an E3 press conference, even if Square just kind of showed this a little bit, and I mean, Square did have a conference, this would have been a lot more exciting, like paired with other games. So I think some of the way that games have been announced this year is so weird. Like, it feels like Ubisoft has nothing. It feels like EA has nothing because they didn't have those conferences. And Nintendo, kind of has had games, but they are so focused on the games in the next month or two that like you don't really know beyond that. And they didn't really have an E3 at all either. Very weird year in terms of...
Yeah, Nintendo really hasn't had a direct, eh? Like, they've just done the Splatoon direct, I know, and the Xenoblade stuff.
Well, didn't they have a direct in the early part of the year before Kirby came out?
Yeah, but they haven't had a direct, like, they didn't have an E3 direct, and they haven't really had a true replacement to that either.
Yeah, it seems like they've really just kind of focused on each game at a time. Like, they had a big June, and then they had, Xenoblade, and now they have Splatoon. Like, they kind of have enough games that they don't need to.
Yeah, they could just do Mario and Rabbids, and then Pokemon and Bayonetta, those three, and then that's it. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but I just speculate it has to do with them kind of saving their next big announcement for what everyone wants, which is the new Zelda and maybe a Switch Pro and all these, like, I don't think
it's all going to come at once. Yeah,
I do think they could have had a E3 direct where they did everything they did in the third party direct, plus another showcase of Xenoblade, Splatoon, and done all that. And I don't think there's been anything really other announcements, but Sparks of Hope, which was there, but like, they could have had a nice E3 with all the first party announcements they've made since. Including Kirby's Dream Buffet, which I'll talk about in what we've been playing, which is their new Kirby kind of racing game.
Yeah.
But it's just been a weird year, for sure. But I still can't really tell if it's been a good year or a bad year or an okay year. It seems like it's been pretty good, but not necessarily amazing.
Yeah, like, one thing I like about this year is there's a lot of games with a lot of different gameplays to try. And you're right, like, I mean, you and I don't love God of War enough to say that that's like the big thing this year, because I'm sure a lot of people will say God of War is the big thing this year. But for me, it's kind of nice because there's a lot of games that look really cool, and there's not necessarily one that I'm like, this is the game I have to play the moment it comes out. It's more like, I have a selection of like 12 games that look cool. Yeah. Like, which like 2 or 3 do I want to pick up this year and play? And I'll get to the other ones later. Like, I kind of like that they're all, to me, like we just went through 10 different games or so, and those are all, an 8 or a 9 or so on
Yeah.
my desire list. So sure, there's no 10s for me, but it's like, there's so many games to pick from.
It's funny. It's almost takes me back to like the double A generations of like GameCube, where you'd have like all these kind of cool games to play. Like none of them were like earth shattering, big, because you'd have. I mean, I'd always have those on day one, but like you'd have these kind of like lesser games, like an SSX Tricky or a Second Sight,
Yeah.
or a I don't know, some of those EA shooters, Final Fight or whatever it was called. We're now with it feels like that this year as well. Like you're getting a lot of unique kind of 8 out of 10 experiences. Well, we'll see.
Like we didn't even mention. I mean, Pokemon, but there's also a Plague Tales coming out.
Yeah, which looks good, and Silk Song could come out too.
Yeah, and I mean, there's Call of Duty and the staples as well. So I mean, there's a great list.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll end up being good, but I do wonder if, by December we might be like, wow, like God of War was really that amazing, or Somerville was really that amazing, or we'll be like, okay, we got a lot of decent holiday games. Like, will one of these end up a tentpole? Will Bayonetta 3 surprise? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyways, Derek, what have you been playing recently? Because I have 2 games on my list this week that I've been playing. What about you?
Yeah, so I've been playing. Just trying to think if there's 2 games. Just really one game. So the game I've been playing is I decided to buy the Neo collection, which includes Neo 1 and 2 on remastered on the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been playing Neo 1 so far, and yeah, I'm loving it a lot. I'm playing on the 120 frames mode.
Okay.
So it's buttery smooth. It's kind of funny. It does feel kind of like a mix of, I know people often compare it to the Dark Souls games. It feels like a mix of that and Ninja Gaiden. Like it's a little bit faster paced and a little bit more combo heavy and intricate with the kind of cool combos you can do, and the fluidity compared to Dark Souls. But it also has those kind of tough enemies, tough bosses. You have to plan out your attack, and you get swarmed and overrun and die and whatnot. So it is this kind of nice mix of both. It's level based, which is it's good in some ways. It also kind of feels like you don't have that kind of world connectivity that you do in the Souls games.
Is it super hard?
I would say it's not any harder than any of the Souls games. I mean, personally, I haven't got to super hard stuff, but for me, it's easier than most of the Souls games.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, you're only on the first one. I think that came out a while ago, so maybe number 2 will have more enhancements.
Yeah, people say you can't. It's kind of like Bayonetta 2 to Bayonetta 1. People were saying you can't really play the second one and then go back to the first because the quality of life improvements in the game mechanics, you'll notice them missing in the first game, and it will make the first one way worse. And right now, I'm loving the first one.
And
so
I'm
it's
sure they
like,
added in a remaster a lot of those enhancements too to the first one, right?
No, I think it's like actual gameplay. Like there's
see.
a different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's
Cool.
It's
I mean,
different.
I love action games, so I mean, it might be something I will look into. I think it's a PS5 exclusive though, right? I don't think it's on Xbox. The Neo series.
I'm not. I don't think so. You're right. I'm not sure though, so don't quote me on that. Again, before you look into this, I do warn you that it still does lean on those Dark Souls challenge. Like it's not, this isn't Ninja Gaiden. It is, Yeah.
Well, anyways, I mean, I've been playing, as I mentioned earlier, Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, so you got that on. It's on a Game Pass, right? So you bought it.
I bought it. It was only $10. So a long time ago, I thought it was like $1, and I ended up just buying like the Virgil expansion by accident.
Oh.
So I've had just the expansion, and which was on sale for $1, and then finally it's on $10, and I've wanted to play it because I like this style of game, and I've always heard good things about it, and I love the Resident Evil engine. So I said screw it. So I bought it, and I've played maybe up to the first boss, like the first big gorilla boss guy. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I did play the game, but I don't remember it. I don't remember that.
You just played it once, right?
I played it once through. I think I tried some of the going back and doing some different levels with different characters or something, but it didn't. Other games were coming out, so.
It's so interestingly, like I had to pull the camera out for one. I played a lot of the game with the default camera, and I found it like nauseating. It's way too close to the character, so I pulled it back. I don't know if you did.
No.
I had to pull it back just to be able to see more of the environment. And finally, it felt like, oh, this is like the Devil May Cry I know, where I can like see the enemies behind me, and the camera's not flailing because I'm so close to the camera. My character. So I did have to switch that, but I'm getting better. It is one of those games where when you start, like you don't really have any combos, so it feels like you're just kind of hacking the same buttons.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten more combos like quickly, it's now opening up and getting a lot more fun. And like grappling enemies and pulling them towards you in the air, like you can do some crazy air combo work.
Have you played, like, what characters have you played as?
I've only played as the starter character.
The guy with the hand, right?
Yeah, which I thought is cool
Yeah.
and fun.
Yeah. So you haven't played as Dante even?
No.
Okay. You have, yeah, you barely even started.
Yeah, so I've just kind of seen the initial start of it, and it's an interesting game because like some of like the vistas and graphics are like really really gorgeous, and then you'll get to an area that's like dead ugly. And it's not even like, it's funny because I'm playing it, I'm like looking at the character models and looking at the resolution, and I'm kind of like, wow, I know Bayonetta 3 won't have that, you know. But at the same time, even on Xbox Series X, it's like framey, like the frame rate's not perfect. And I have it on I think I chose performance mode, but it's like, it looks 60, but it's like there's little frame drops here and there. And I know that the frame rate actually will be in screen tearing. Like it's going to be a smoother presentation, I think, on Bayonetta, because Bayonetta 1 and 2 have a smoother presentation.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a weird presentation overall, but looks good. I'm not a fan of the music. The story I just skip because it's horrendous.
Yeah, I skipped it too. Let me know when you get to the third playable character, because it was one of the most interesting parts of the game for me.
Okay, I mean, I probably will get to the end because so far I haven't died once, and I'm on normal, and I found it pretty forgiving, especially with the yellow gems that give you a revival. Because I'm kind of doing it where I'm like exploring, so I'm finding like all these, upgrades. But I'm enjoying it so far. Like you mentioned earlier, it feels tighter than Bayonetta, but I feel like I don't have as many. Like Bayonetta has the sword and the kick, where this just has the single sword prompt and the gun. So it's like I'm just missing that combo action between sword and kick. Where this one, it's really just like between sword and the grapple and the lock on and not lock on, unless there's more to unlock. I don't know. But as of now, it just seems like the combo system is actually simpler and less rewarding, because I don't feel like I'm pulling off combos by mixing the kick and the sword. I'm just doing the sword over and over again, And the gun is more like to keep the combo going. But I find that as I get more combos and buy more, it's like becoming more fun. But I just feel like that first few levels.
Yeah, it has a slow start.
Yeah, which I get why they're teaching me, but like Bayonetta doesn't have to do that, and they still have tons of upgrades and awesome new abilities and weapons and combos. So it's like, I don't know, something about that early game is a little bit dry. It's a little bit one of those like, you need to get the combos first.
It's a slow ramp up, yeah. Keep playing. I think you'll like it by the time you get further.
Cool, yeah, and I'm it's fun so far. I'm probably gonna play some more right after this. The other game that I have just played a little bit now because it came out either yesterday or today is the Kirby's Dream Buffet.
Yeah, I heard about this, but I think I saw the original trailer, but I haven't really followed anything after that.
It kind of came out of nowhere. It's only $20, so it's an easy buy. But it's interesting because it's kind of like it's a weird game, because you're basically, your goal is to get strawberries, and there's basically one single mode that's like the Grand Prix mode, and the Grand Prix is broken up into like one race, one kind of battle mode situation, and then one race, and then one battle mode situation. So there's like four different events, I guess you call them. And the race is pretty standard. The race is the best part, because like the levels feel like they're randomly generated based on like pieces, so like they're always there's no level select. It just randomly throws you in a level, and so far I haven't seen the same level twice. But the levels feel cool. It's like the elements are the same, but it'll be like a donut that twirls this way instead of that way, and the strawberries will be placed differently. So I think it's that, because they never bring you to a select screen, and then they throw you into like a top-down style mode where they drop strawberries, and it's like a battle mode where you get the weapons that you get in the main one, and you can like hit guys off and get their strawberries.
Is this online or is it single player?
Fully online. So you can play single player with CPU, or you can play up to 4 players locally.
Cool.
So Vanessa and I did do some 2-player where it's split screen vertical, and we did a whole Grand Prix, and it's fun. Like you really just go to Grand Prix, and it says how hard do you want the CPU, and that's it. So it does feel
Cool.
limited in a way, and like of course you can do the Grand Prix, and then you can also get like do a single race, like just do single race, get a random place,
Yeah.
and just that's it. There are some other funny modes, like there's a open world mode which is basically just like a series of cakes that you can like roll around and try the items and explore, and like you can do it with 4 players, so it's kind of weird, but it's like not that big and there's nothing really to do, so it's kind of a distraction.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff like you get unlockables, you decorate your cake, you get new costumes that Kirby can wear. It's all, a lot of window dressing, but the main game, especially online, is fun. None of the modes feel broken, and it's kind of fun because your strawberries collect over the course of the whole Grand Prix. So if I get 75 strawberries in the first race, you need to take me out. Like there is like I'm gonna continue with that 75 in the next one. And in the battle modes in between the races, you can lose your strawberries if someone hits you. So
Oh, that's
I
kind of
could
cool.
get 100 and everyone else is at 30 or 40 strawberries, and then the next round I do terribly, I get hit a bunch, and now I've lost 40 strawberries. So it's like
That's
it
kind of cool.
actually, I'm not gonna lie, it's actually a lot of fun. And I was really thinking about it. I'm like, on one hand, this should be free to play because it's like a hard swallow even at $20. But it's also this would have been the kind of multiplayer mode in in the Forgotten Land that would have made that game like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because if it had this mode in it, it would have been like, you have to buy this, for sure buy it. It's got this awesome side mode with this awesome multiplayer mode. So it almost feels like these two parts of like this great game were split up. I don't know, like I couldn't help
Oh yeah.
kind of just start to feel depressed about that, being like, oh, Kirby and the Forgotten Land would have been the perfect multiplayer companion to that game. Like it would have felt like it had that additional content that people maybe did, like for people like you who are like, I'm on the fence, there's just not enough.
Yeah, I would have sealed the deal. Yeah.
But it also feels like they maybe said, hey, this mode's a little too much fun, so let's make it its own game and add a little window dressing over the next couple months. But I don't know, it's weird. It's the kind of thing where it is fun. It's the kind of thing where, but it is, the fun thing about it too is it's one of those rare games where someone can pick it up for the very first time and know exactly what to do in 5 seconds, and have fun with it.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask you, how did Vanessa find it?
She was better than I was. So
Oh,
she
cool.
she crushed it. Yeah, and she even like went online and played around online by herself and beat everybody.
Wow,
So
that's pretty cool.
it's like but it's the kind of game where like if you played like you like were got a little good at it and kind of understood some of the tricks, like you'd probably crush.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting dynamic where like you're racing, right? And there's kind of this well, do you go the longer, harder routes to get more strawberries, or do you try to get to the finish first? Because if you get to the finish first, you get a huge amount of strawberries the first, second, third place.
Oh, that's
So
kind of cool.
there's a trade-off, and then there's other little trade-offs. Like if you get items, you can either use the item to like not like there's areas where there's walls, like cookie walls, and so everyone will just get to the wall at the same time, have to break the wall down together, and it kind of levels everybody out, which means you could have just spent the time getting strawberries. But if you have an item, certain items can slip under that wall. So you leave everyone behind and get this massive advantage, or you can like use other items like the fire and break the wall down and get ahead of everybody. But you're breaking the wall down for everyone. So there is a
That
little
sounds
bit of
cool.
a meta strategy. Yeah, it's a meta strategy, and I gotta say the presentation and graphics are great. Like it's just fun. It's just a weird place of hard to recommend for $20 when you might only play it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But it really would have been a great companion for Kirby. But anyways, it's a nice little random thing. I think they probably should have put it on the NSO for free. That would have been nice. But it is what it is. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds interesting. I mean, I would definitely try it at your place to see what it was. I don't know if I'd ever buy it though.
I mean, it's the kind of game that we're around, like you, me, Juliana, and Vanessa can play, and like we will be laughing and having a good time. Probably more so than Mario Kart and Smash Bros, where we would win.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there's
It's
a
little
value
yeah.
to that.
It reminds me of that game that came out on the Switch. Was it Smash and Drive? Smash and Taxi? Crazy. What's the game where it's like just two cars and you just like. It wasn't just two cars. It was like It's a racing game.
It's not cruising,
like,
is it?
It might have been Cruise and Blast. Yeah, that's the
Did you get Cruise and Blast?
No, my friend had it though, and I went to his house and we played. But it's like it's so simple where it's like you don't really care if you lose or win. You're just having fun the whole time.
Yeah,
Like,
I
kind of
still
like
play that game. I love it.
yeah, I like games like that sometimes. But you know, at the same time, I also like games where I can actually get better. But yeah, like that game sounds fun. I definitely play it at the holidays.
Yeah. So that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Oh, we haven't. You know what? Another thing that I've been playing that I guess I don't know if you played is the new Mario Kart tracks.
Yes, I did play them.
Did you get a chance to try them?
Yeah, I've gotten all the gold trophies, triple star on every single difficulty.
Wow. Okay. I didn't play that much. So you did 200cc as well.
Yeah, I got yeah. I always make sure I go through every single Grand Prix and get every single trophy.
Then you do reverse. Then you do 200.
I actually do 50, 100, 150.
That's ridiculous.
Reverse 200. Yeah.
That is such a time sink.
Well, it's like I paid for this DLC. I might as well get a couple hours out of it.
I guess I just feel like by the time I've done 50 and 100, like I'm tired of the courses. Like to be honest,
I don't just sit and play them all in one day. I did like 50 and 100, and then I like 2 days later I tried 150, and then the next day I did 200, and then
I just go right to 150 because then if you get it gold, it gives you a gold in the other two.
I know, but I sometimes like to go slow at the first time to just see what the level's about, experience it, kind of get a feel for the atmosphere, as opposed to just like trying to race and do well.
So what do you I mean, I haven't played it as much as you, but I've played through the new courses maybe 3 times. I did once with 2 other friends. So we did the 4-way split screen, and then I did once by myself and once with Vanessa. So I've kind of done that roundup. I haven't tried them online. What do you think of these new levels?
Yeah, I like them probably as much as the first set, if not more. The only level I thought was kind of a dud was the new level at Sunday Skyway or whatever.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dud.
But the tour, I mean, I didn't love the New York tour level, but I really liked the Australia one, and the Waluigi pinball is a classic. Yeah, my favorite one I think is the Australia, the Sydney, whatever it was, the Sydney tour level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that one too, and I also like the Snowland from Game Boy Advance. It's kind of like you circle around a lake, and I mean, I appreciate how some of these tracks are just like simple, bare bones racing.
I even like Donut Plains 3. Was that?
Yeah, it's like a classic.
I love that level because it's like that one is like you really have to know when to, especially on 200cc. It's like you got to know when to brake and like drifting around the corners, and like it's pure racing, right? It's like really how do you cut that edge as close as you can. Yeah. I love that.
I did hear something about, so they went back and changed a few things in the original DLC. Like they added the cars moving in Coconut Mall, and I think they upgraded some textures, but that's it. The one thing is that I do find some of the courses a bit, they're not as, they're obviously not as exciting as the original courses.
Well, there's no new courses except for this.
I know. I just mean like the way that something like Cheeseland from Game Boy Advance was updated is like epic and beautiful and like reimagined. Where the Game Boy Advance upgrades on this one are more or less the exact same.
Yeah.
So I mean they're less ambitious, but I guess there's part of me that's trying to appreciate that, and I'm actually really excited for when all of them come out and you can go online and you're going to see a lot of these new courses mixed in. I did hear something that they changed the rate of the weapons showing up. I don't know. Did you hear about this? I haven't really experienced it or seen anything like that. But like,
it feels the same to me, like always.
Same. I heard online people were saying that the item boxes respawn a little sooner, so it's easier for everyone to get weapons, which I think is unnecessary.
That might be true, but
I don't know. I haven't really noticed.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I just want to say this is a side note. So not a game I've been playing, but the Super Smash Bros. The Smash Con was last week. So I was watching some of that and some of the pro scene and the winner was a Steve. I don't know if you knew that.
No kidding.
Like the Minecraft Steve character is like absurdly strong. So I think it was this like 16 or 15-year-old that won and kind of like upset all these famous people, like these big names. Yeah, so it looked really cool. Like there's a Smash 64 combo contest, which was really awesome.
I'd like send me that Steve final. I'd like to see that.
Okay, yeah, it's him versus who does he play against? I can't remember, but yeah, I'll send it to you.
Sweet.
Oh, it's a Wario. I think he plays against a Wario. Yeah. Anyways, that's just a side.
I'd be
Nintendo
so
thing.
down to see that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for this week, I guess, huh, Derek?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to finish.
I think by the time 2 weeks from now come around, we'll be in full on Splatoon 3 hype mode, won't we?
Yeah, it'll be seriously a week out.
Yeah. By the way, Cruisin' Blast is only $20 now on the eShop.
Oh, nice.
And
I'm not gonna get it.
There is DLC and online multiplayer on the way.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that game was like getting updates.
Yeah, it's more popular than people thought. So.
I mean, I'm pretty busy with Neo and Neo 2, so I don't think I'll be playing any other games for a while.
Well, your loss. Okay, Derek. Well, it's been a fun week.
Yeah, a good podcast.
We'll talk next time. This is Nintendo Bros. Pete signing out.
Yep, this is Derek. See you later.